Hello, and welcome to another podcast by me, Rory Brennan, who is going to read not some poems, but a poem, quite a long poem, I warn you in advance, but not too long. And it's set here in Berlin, and I'm sitting in Berlin in the very beautiful apartment of my daughter and my son-in-law, and that's one of his paintings, his quite moving paintings, portraits on the wall, a small one behind us. So this is a beautiful apartment. I wish you could see it, but it's not necessary for this. Now, the poem I'm going to read is set in Berlin, or to be more accurate, just outside Berlin. And anybody who knows a little bit about Berlin knows it's ringed by lakes. The sea is rather far away, so these lakes are used for swimming and boating and everything else, and also for building for beautiful villas of the rich and so forth. Now, there is one lake that is very famous that is caught on film, and there's a reference to, in this poem, to 1930s footage of rather handsome people splashing and swimming and so forth. So that's one of the references in the poem, is to the lake. Now the lake is called Lake Wansee, or Wansee, we might say Wansee. A Walk by Lake Wansee is perhaps the best title. And Wansee is, of course, famous for something else. That it is famous for a very chilling event, and that is, of course, the planning of the final solution for the extermination of the Jews. And what this poem is really is a meditation on the setting, which I visited with my family, and walked all around it, walked around the lake, into different villas and so forth. Now the poem will develop this. As I say, really, I just want to give you an idea of a lovely sunshiny place, which it was. And here we have a mixture right outside the window. There's a park, which was once a station, and they leveled the station and built a park. They just left a little bit of the platform here. And it's called the Gorlitzer Station. And here in Berlin, there's been, over a length of time, I've been coming here, maybe perhaps 30 years, since the fall of the wall. It has developed greatly, but you can still see evidence of the Cold War's atmosphere here and there. Sad reminders of plaques for where Jewish people once lived are set in the pavement. Memory stones, you might call them, of people who tried to escape from the Stasi and were shot, and the River Spree just down the road. So it's a city, it's a cockpit of Europe, one can say perhaps, but it is a city where two wars were fought, the Cold War, and of course the terrible bombing of final days of the last war, we call it, or Second World War. So look, this is about, as I say, taking a walk there. And it begins by looking at the lake. I'll just begin, I'll go. Who appears? Sorry, I must say who appears. Bismarck. Well, it's hard to get away from him. Bismarck really made modern Germany, and there's a statue to him by the lake, and that comes in. So he was the great Prussian leader who made modern Germany, won wars against Austria and France, unified Germany basically. So there is various other people will pop in. Now Heydrich, a guy called Reinhard Heydrich, his films have been made about him. Several films with titles like Man of Iron or Man Without a Soul or something like that. He was the kind of mastermind, the coordinator, and he features in this. And there is a wonderful film which I can only recommend, where Kenneth Branagh plays him at the conference that was decided. All this was decided with lawyers, with scientists, with administrators, which is what makes it so chilling. And there's reference to Ireland, where I come from, of course, and its small population of Jewish people who too were to be eliminated. Okay, I'm going to start the poem. It's about the poem. The poem should explain itself, but all poems need a kind of context. Let's go. A walk by Lake Wansee. We are bemused by the flamboyance of sails that pirouette on lakes or skip beside the seaside as we stroll by the water, crunching shells. They preen and swirl like models on parade. Sails smack of an innocence they don't deserve. White ones, I mean, ones white as angels' wings, not those the shade of overalls or flotsam-froth. Red ones are the stuff of romantic songs. This lake is for inland, but blue as the open sea, not the metallic grey of hill-flanked fjords. The unrigged yachts seem skittish and carefree, spars feint and fence, like toy wooden swords. Lakes dare us to trek around their circumference. So, start of this bust of Bismarck, his bullet head, more an artillery shell. Behind a metal fence, cold marble eyes behold his world unmade. They've corralled him at last into a public park opposite the tiny station, where perhaps a train once disgorged a swaggering, maimed monarch whose need to show off scuppered Otto's plan, that's Otto Bismarck, and spooked a nation in the turmoil of defeat. There's a viewing stand here, a grand balcony without a mansion behind, which seems to suit the colossal paradox of chill logic and foul play that took place across the sail-flagged lake. How quickly the philosophers who say that life is a dream, a flame in a cave, a mirror opaque, look glib and shallow before agony and grief. Those who have lived horrors grasp what is real. A knife, sharp or blunt, like a subtle or crude argument, is not so esoteric or metaphysical when it slits captives' throats in a gaunt wood. I'm one who loves old newsreels, archive film of almost anything. Soldiers or crown princes jerkily saluting, marching off before the grim reaper took his manic roll call in the trenches. There's later footage here, an athletic summer, the last illusory holiday of Europe in a way. Girls sunning limbs, lads flopping off a pier. Too soon, the salivating hounds begin to bay. The salivating hounds and the dogs of war. 1939 and black and white, though colour has just splashed garishly across the screen. Disaster turns things monochrome and dour, the way lurid blood dries to a dingy sheen, the way the Ubermensch, slicing the sunny lake, would stroke over arm across the map, Atlantic to the Vistula, till the first snowflake fell like a plague bacillus on the steppe. And ice pimpled a leprous coverlet and skin. Back then, all appeared blonde and invulnerable, before the future, like the shadow of a zeppelin, crawled closer with its preposterous proposal, traversing the skeletal forest, tree by tree, until it found the lake, and it was midwinter, always the prime season to plot infamy, and where a lavish mansion offered shelter. Of all the nihilistic cabals and malcontents, of all the charlatans, from Nero to Rasputin, of all the monotonous litany of demented tyrants, this lot must rank as the most brutal and malign, and the most unimaginable. Yet what occurred was as mundane as our walk by the lakeside. Here is the record, every graph, statistic, word in spotless typescript, the design of genocide. Still, the mournful villas, plutocratic loneliness, wealth fired in foundries, stripped from mines to splurge on show, the purpose of each place, stand sentried by spectres spindly as the pines that stake the margins of each shoreline plot, hunting lodges, Bauhaus, pillared porticos, with the handless sleeve of a jetty jutting out, plus a lifebelt hook, a gibbet perch for crows. The few boats out tease the lake to turn sour, tempt the air to have a mood swing and turn the scene into a maelstrom. Weather and war will wreck any stratagem, wear out any plan, but not till this one lived its mad dog day of making massacre streamlined and modern, while savaging the most defenseless prey. So legalistic, expedient, and yet German, unique. No nation or a counterfeit of one. I'll not reel off such a charge list or our sheet simply to stress the vacuity of comparison. Seems to be absolved from evil in its past, and was perhaps only restrained from worse because it lacked logistics, weaponry, or trains, not due to some exquisite moral sense. So, is morality mere opportunity and means? Beware the sly complicity of the complacent who shift guilt onto the times or on a tribe. Claim the scapegoat was not itself benevolent. Pogroms are fired by a mad rant or diatribe from pulpit, soapbox, stage or microphone. A newsreel are these days a rabid website. The lost and embittered feel far less alone when they combine to scorn and denigrate. Today, this place resembles a private school or a renowned, well-funded research institute, almost a tasteful guest house or discreet hotel, a garden neatly laid out as a model estate. Inside all is cleanliness and floor polish scents, depression modern chairs and gleaming tables, glazed notice boards like those for exam results. Our public institutions laying down rules. These notes are not data of matriculation set out in prayer book black or rubric red. What the filing cabinets did in fact contain were the locations of the designated dead. In every state, an exercise in demography that numbered Jews like shipments of freight. I read the estimate for my own small country and with an Arctic shiver found it accurate. It is all the trite over familiarity that horrifies. All of us have endured meetings in such rooms, followed procedures, made notes, revised our basic aims and ultimate objective, cracked a joke, to win the obdurate objectors over to our side, had a quiet word during the coffee break. A load of vapid palaver. At least no one died. But due to what was coolly worked out here, millions upon millions did. Delegates spoke with respect to Heydrich through the chair. The neo-Mephisto worked his masterstroke. The modest secretaries made meticulous notes. Today, pinned on the walls is the dulling record to prove such a dry proceedings led to bullets, and chambers heaped with the asphyxiated dead. We leave where they once parked the limousines. The long black bonnets sported a three-pointed star to blight the one with fire. Inspecting runic signs may be as practical as trying to disentangle murder and its vile, crazy causes when it grows immense. Like an infinity of ripples from sailboats on the lake, the commonplace drains evil of its drastic sense. The chimneys spewed out fine ash in the smoke. So, thank you for staying to hear this poem. We'll leave it there. Rory Brennan signing out here on a sunny and icy day in Berlin.